today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
welcome back. This is the international news on Atlantic Television Network. Now the rest of our stories. A Canadian man has been charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder in the death of his wife, 3 young children, and a 17-year-old female relative, authorities said Monday. Royal Canadian Mounted Police Inspector Tim Astronaut said Brian Howard Manosikic, 29, has been charged and said dead are the suspect's 30-year-old wife, the couple's 6-year-old daughter, 4-year-old son and 2-month-old daughter, as well as the wife's 17-year-old niece. The 5 died Sunday at multiple crime scenes in and around the town of Carmen, 85 kilometers southwest of Winnipeg. Police responded to a hit-and-run and found the woman lying dead in a ditch on Sunday morning. More than 2 hours later, in 70 kilometers to the north, officers were called to a report of a burning vehicle and found the children outside the car. The children were pronounced dead at the scene, and the police took Monas Kisik of Carmen into custody, while the body of the teen girl was found later at a home in Carmen. Police said autopsies were being conducted and declined to provide further details as the investigation continues. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has endorsed his daughter-in-law to head the Republican National Committee. Mr. Trump voiced his support for Lara Trump and Michael Whatley, chair of North Carolina's Republican Party. His backing on Monday follows report that he has grown frustrated with RNC's current leadership. The committee would vote for new leadership if its current head, Ronna McDaniel, steps down. U.S. media has reported that Ms. McDaniel may leave her post after the South Carolina Republican primaries scheduled for 24th of February. The RNC, as an organization, focuses on fundraising for the party and on getting Republicans out to vote. As the front-runner candidate for the Republican Party in this year's election, Mr. Trump's endorsement will likely have some influence among RNC members. In a Monday evening statement, Mr. Trump said that Mr. Whatley, who currently serves as the committee's general counsel, has done a great job in his home state of North Carolina and that he should be the RNC's next chair. He also lauded Mr. Watley's commitment to election integrity. Mr. Watley has previously championed the former president's baseless allegations of election fraud in the 2020 election for the role of RNC co-chair. Mr. Trump said he endorses his very talented daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, who is married to his son, Eric. Lara is an extremely talented communicator and is dedicated to all that MAGA stands for, Mr. Trump said. Ms. Trump has worked closely with the RNC in the past and is seen as an effective fundraiser by the committee. Party rules mandate that there be one male and one female at the helm of the RNC. Ex-US President Donald Trump has asked the Supreme Court to suspend a lower court ruling that he does not have presidential immunity from prosecution. He had claimed in his election interference case he could not be tried for acts carried out as president. 3 lower court judges disagreed, ruling that he can be prosecuted like any other citizen. But Mr. Trump's lawyers said he should not be tried during an election campaign. Conducting a months-long criminal trial of President Trump at the height of election season will radically disrupt President Trump's ability to campaign against President Biden, Trump's attorney wrote in the filing. The Supreme Court will now decide if it will put the ruling on hold to allow Mr. Trump to appeal. The conservative majority top court granting the request would lead to a long delay in the landmark criminal case, alleging that Mr. Trump plotted to illegally overturn the 2020 election, possibly until after the November election. However, if the Supreme Court declines to put the ruling on pause, the federal trial, overseen by Judge Tanya Chutkan, will be scheduled likely for spring. As Mr. Trump vies for the White House, he faces 3 other criminal trials in addition to this one. He faces charges in Georgia for an alleged attempt to overturn the 2020 election results in the state and a 7-count indictment in Florida over his handling of classified documents after he left the White House. The third, based in New York, is related to the alleged concealment of a payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. He has pleaded not guilty against charges in all the cases. Mr. Trump's legal team has also made repeated attempts to delay his criminal trials until after the 2024 election. In the federal election interference trial, Mr. Trump has been charged with 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an official proceeding, and conspiracy against the rights of citizens. He has repeatedly denied wrongdoing, and his lawyers have argued that presidents are immune from prosecution or possible crimes committed while they are in office, even after they leave the White House. Family, friends, and military colleagues are gathering in Georgia as funerals begin for 3 Army Reserve soldiers killed last month in a drone attack on a U.S. base in Jordan. The first funeral service was scheduled Tuesday morning for Staff Sergeant William Jerome Rivers at a Baptist church in Carrollton, west of Atlanta. The 46-year-old reservist and Pennsylvania native, who was survived by his wife and son in Georgia, served in a uniform for more than a decade after enlisting as an electrician. The Army said his overseas deployment included a 9-month tour in Iraq in 2018. His obituary from a local funeral home called him a warm-hearted family with a gentle demeanor and a fierce and determined personality. Following the church service, Rivers is to be buried at the Georgia National Cemetery for military veterans in Canton, just northwest of Atlanta. A January 28 drone strike on a U.S. military outpost in Jordan killed Rivers, as well as Sergeant Kennedy Sanders and Sergeant Breonna Moffett, who all received their ranks in a posthumous promotion. They were assigned to the Army Reserve 926 Engineer Battalion, 926 Engineer Brigade, based at Fort Moore in West Georgia. President Joe Biden met with the families of the fallen soldiers when their remains were returned to U.S. soil earlier this month at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. Parades, music, dancing in the streets, joyous carnival celebrations marking the final days of revelry before Lent are peaking in New Orleans, Rio de Janeiro, and other locales in America and Europe. Each city has its unique carnival customs, but the similarities are inescapable. Dancers in feathered headdresses gyrated and strutted in parades featuring lavish floats with giant figures of Greek gods or pop stars. Costumes abounded, and the themes of the various festivities ran from whimsical to satirical. Shoulder to shoulder, crowds savored the music and rhythms around the music truck in Salvador or outside Bourbon Street's nightclubs in New Orleans. As the celebrations grew over the weekend, fanciful costumes were on the rise. One group of revelers wore costumes made from beer and soda cans during a parade in Madre de Deus, Brazil, on Sunday. A reveler in New Orleans strode Bourbon Street in an intricately beaded hat adorned with gold butterflies. Politicians and world figures were lampooned. The words "joke on it" were lettered on a float in Cologne, Germany. Wearing a giant Vladimir Putin eating cake in Ukraine, In New Orleans, Donald Trump, President Joe Biden, and his son Hunter, and the local mayor were ridiculed in caricatures on floats. A former Puerto Rico mayor who was caught on a film in a high-profile bribery case was sentenced Monday to more than 5 years in prison as part of an ongoing federal crackdown on government corruption in the U.S. territory. Angel Perez Otero, a former lawmaker who also was president of the island's Federation of Mayors and served as mayor of Guaynabo from 2017 to 2021, had been found guilty of conspiracy, bribery, and extortion in March. He had been accused of awarding contracts and expediting invoice payments in exchange for thousands of dollars in cash as part of a scheme that federal authorities said ran from late 2019 through May 2021. Attorneys for Perez said they plan to appeal. Perez is one of several former mayors who have been sentenced in federal bribery cases in recent years, including those of the towns of Rincon, Guayama, Tumaco, Aguas Buenas, and Trujillo Alto. Prosecutors said Monday Prosecutors said Monday they have arrested 6 members of a drug gang in the Mexican resort of Cancun that allegedly killed and hacked up 5 people with a machete and dumped 3 other victims in a shallow grave. The gang, which prosecutors say also engaged in extortion, was protected by a network of motorcycle taxis and miners who acted as lookouts. Authorities also announced the arrest of 23 people and charges they operated a fake tour agency that served as a cover for drug sales in Cancun. The suspects operated a call center in which they offered sport equipment and tour packages to tourists but then failed to deliver them. On the second floor, they had a complex operation in which drug deals were allegedly made over the phone and delivered by motorcycle. Another suspect was arrested in Cancun who allegedly both ordered drugs on social media sites which were delivered to him by express package service and sold them also on social media with home delivery included. The revelations Monday came one day after prosecutors confirmed an American woman and a man from Belize were shot to death late last week in what appears to have been a dispute between drug dealers at a beach club in the resort city of Tulum, south of Cancun. Prosecutors in Quintana Roo stressed the American woman had no connection to an alleged drug dealer also killed in the shooting Friday night. The woman appeared to have simply been caught in the crossfire. Prosecutors said the dead man had cocaine and pills in his possession when he was killed and was believed to be a dealer. They said the suspects in the shootings had been identified and were being sought. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister said a large oil spill near the twin island nation in the Eastern Caribbean has caused a national emergency as crews struggled to contain the oil already coating numerous beaches on Tobago's southwest coast. The government has yet to identify the owner of the vessel that overturned near Tobago last week, Prime Minister Keith Rowley said Sunday. It was not immediately clear how much oil had spilled and how much remained in the largely submerged vessel. It was not clear what caused the vessel to overturn. Divers have not been able to contain the leak and are trying to determine how to remove the remaining oil, said Farley Augustin, Chief Secretary of Tobago's House of Assembly, who toured the area with the Prime Minister. Tobago is a popular tourist destination. Officials worried about the spill's impact. There was no immediate comment from environmental watchdogs. Farley said it is too early to know how much the cleanup would cost, but said some not so insignificant costs are being incurred to respond to this incident. He said several unidentified countries have offered to help and discussions about those efforts are ongoing. Cleaning and restoration can only seriously begin after we have brought the situation under control, he said. And our situation is not under control, but it appears to be under sufficient control that we think we can manage. Rowley said that for now, good weather Emergency warnings have been issued over fires burning in and near the Grampians National Park, with some communities told to take shelter as a cool change brought respite to scorching temperatures in Melbourne. Alerts were issued to communities near the Grampians National Park in Victoria West on Tuesday afternoon due to two separate fires that were yet to be brought under control. One issued at 3:15 p.m. warned that a bushfire near Belfield was not yet under control and traveling in an east towards the Pomono township. It said it was too late for Belfield, Lake Fyans, and Pomono residents to leave and urged they instead take shelter. You are in danger and need to act immediately to survive. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave, the Vic emergency warning read. Another warning issued at 3:47 p.m. warned those in Dancewell Bridge, Ledcourt, and Roses Gap that another fire in the park near Mistafton was also out of control. The bushfire is traveling in southeasterly direction towards Dancewell Bridge, the warning read. It said it was too late for residents in the areas to leave. You must take shelter now. Thunderstorms hit part of Melbourne on Tuesday afternoon, with residents in the northwest and southeast reporting large hailstones. A catastrophic fire rating had been issued for the Wimmera for Tuesday, the state's worst day for bushfire risk since the Black Summer of 2019 to 2020. An extreme fire danger was forecast for the Mali, Northern Country, and Central Districts, which includes Melbourne. A total fire ban is in place for much of the state. A watch and act alert are also issued for parts of Melbourne, which included Croydon, Crosby, Lilydale, as well as Poowong, Miss Dandenong, and Pakenham. The alert said damaging winds and large hailstones were likely, with a 115 km per hour wind gust recorded at Faulkner Beacon shortly after 3 p.m. And that is the international news for today. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Liberia, Defense Minister resigns following protests in military barracks. Yemen, Houthi rebels fired 2 missiles at Iran-bound ship. India, thousands of protesting farmers to converge in Delhi. Poland, journalist apologizes for spreading anti-LGBT sentiment. United States, Trump endorses daughter-in-law to head Republican National Committee. Australia, emergency warnings issued over wildfire. I am Valentina Lawrence. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on all our social media platforms on X, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, Atlantic TV Network. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you. Have a lovely afternoon.